Tony, I want to talk about rematches. Rematches. And you know what it is? You're actually the best person to talk about rematches because you've had a few rematches in your career as well. Yeah. There's a few big rematches being spoken about in the last couple of weeks. Eubanks Smith, looks like that might go again. There's talks about Leigh versus Mauricio Lara. Where do you stand on them? Should rematch clauses be a thing in the sport? Do you agree with them? Again, from a man that had a couple of high-profile rematches, what's your take on it?
I've been involved in probably one of the biggest rematches this country's had with me and David Hay, and he didn't actually have a rematch clause because he thought I was going to be that easy to beat the first time round. He didn't see the need for a rematch clause, which we laugh about now. But without bringing that up, Addy, I think rematch clauses are needed if a champion is facing a voluntary defence, and he has no option or no reason to not give this guy a chance. The Leigh Wood situation that we're looking at now is needed 100% because Leigh Wood is gifted Mauricio Lara a once in a lifetime opportunity, and Mauricio Lara has taken it with both hands, and Leigh Wood deserves the chance to win his title back because he didn't have to fight Mauricio Lara. But when I see some other rematches that are put in place, I mean, we look at one most recently in Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr. I don't see the need because who was Chris Eubank Jr. before he faced Liam Smith and who is he after he's beat Liam Smith? That's the point. What did he actually bring to the table? He brought a bit of a profile boost, but Liam Smith was the better fighter. Liam Smith was the more decorated fighter. Why does Liam Smith have to face Chris Eubank Jr. again? I don't get it, other than the fact of proving that what he done was no fluke, which a lot of people like myself predicted going into the fight he was going to win anyway. So there is some pointless ones I see, but the rematch clause generally and overall I think should be pursued from a champion's perspective only.
Ultimately though, won't the fans determine whether or not a rematch is needed, right? I mean, if fans scream and shout about, yeah, we want to see that again, 9 times out of 10 it will happen again because that equates to bums on seats, it equates to pay-per-view buys, it equates to people tuning in. Like, take Leigh Wood for example. Yes, there's a rematch clause in there, but if Leigh Wood got smoked in 2, who wants to see it again? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the point in it? Because we don't want to see it. I mean, look, that was competitive on Saturday. We might want to see that one, but if he got destroyed in 2, what's the point?
100%, I get it, Addy. It's, as I say, I mean, I get your point, but when you're a champion and you're facing a voluntary defender at the voluntary defence, then you're well and truly entitled to your rematch clause. But as I said, if it's a blowout, then I don't really. You're half right when you say there, if the public want it, the public will get it. When there's big demand, there is always a need, and it will eventually happen. But I don't know, mate. It can get messy. When legal stuff gets involved in a sport like boxing, it's not good. And no one wants to see the legal route taken when it comes to boxing. Let's just give the fans what they want. I mean, is there anyone out there right now who wouldn't want to see Mauricio Lara versus Leigh Wood again after what we witnessed on Saturday?
No, and you know the good thing about that ending there is why people want to see it again, right? That just because of how that ended and because Leigh Wood was up in that fight, so that makes sense for a rematch clause. I want you to kind of go back to Tony Bellew that was coming through British level, European level before you started making the big bucks, right, in the world title fights and the big fights. If you're a fighter coming through, don't you think that the rematch clauses hold up the division? So if you are a fighter coming through, waiting for your opportunity, right, you put all the work in, you've done the British, Commonwealth, European, you want a big fight, and then, because it only seems to happen at world level, where there's, like we're hearing Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia. That fight could be held up because they're arguing about a rematch clause. So I'm just thinking of the fighter coming through that has to wait because divisions are being held up.
Okay, well, the best way of looking at that is at what level is it being held up? And you're absolutely spot on. So speaking once again from personal experience, when I fought a guy called Oval McKenzie, I was British and Commonwealth champion. So we get into the first fight, and in the first fight I'm just Commonwealth champion. I'm defending my Commonwealth title. I comes across Oval McKenzie. I get dropped heavily in the first round, flat on my face. Second round I'm down again. I get up and I win and stop him very controversially, and I don't think he should have been stopped. I mean,
I remember it well.
The referee completely steals me thunder. Very Carl Froch, George Groves-esque. Don't get me wrong, I drop him really heavy in the 7th round, and then the referee jumps in and just stopped me stealing me glory. But I give him an immediate rematch. Now, I choose to do that. That did hold up the light heavyweight Commonwealth scene for a little bit, but it's a lot different on a world stage, Eddie, because there's a lot more money at stake. There's a lot bigger profile at stake, and I don't know, there's not as many shows when you get to world level, so I think rematch clauses have to be looked at very, very carefully if we're going to keep approaching this topic. But I do think they are needed, and I would only say, well, you can't get a rematch clause, Eddie, with a mandatory. That's what I will say. You know, you can't put that in with a mandatory challenger. So for people out there who are striving to become world champion, who are wanting to get their shot, become a mandatory challenger, because then you have no rematch clause put in place. You know, and that's the best way to go about it, I would say, to any young aspiring professional out there or who is on the cusp of a world title. Become that mandatory challenger. That is the best way forward. So
look,
if that can
ultimately,
help,
look, we've seen some really good rematches, haven't we? I mean, Carl Froch, George Groves, right? There was no rematch clause in that one. George Groves needed a rematch. He got his rematch, and it was Carl Froch's best ever night as a boxer. We've seen some good ones. You think of Fury Wilder. We have seen some good
How many
rematches,
was there, lad?
And they're needed. But I do think there needs to be sort of conversation about rematch clauses being put in contracts where...
Do you know how many was there for that rematch by any chance, Addy? Because we had Carl on the weekend and I thought he was absolutely fantastic, as he always is, but I just thought we'd get in there, just a little quick one. I mean, I didn't quite know how many was in there that night.
No,
but,
Carl mentioned
you and him gelled absolutely fantastically.
He mentioned the fact that, you know, that fight, that rematch I had with George Groves, but look, I mean, they're good for the sport in some instances, but I also think for guys coming through, I think it holds up divisions, and ultimately it kind of holds up fights we want to see. But look, going back to the one on Saturday, I do want to see a rematch between the two because it was exciting. There are others.
What was your thoughts on the stoppage, Addy? What was your thoughts on the stoppage, though?
You know what? I've watched it back so many times, and you get a split second. I'm going to say this, actually. I'd rather a fight be stopped early than a fight stopped late.
Of course, that goes without saying, but still, what do you think should happen? You're not answering the question.
What I think should happen is Ben doesn't throw the towel in. I think, and people might say he's in there with a killer, and you are correct. You knew, and I'm going to use your words, you knew he was a killer before the fight.
Of course.
And there is a
you
part
knew
of
you guys
me
was going to get hurt at some point.
What? Let it go. Let it go, and then you never know. Then you never know what could happen, because we have seen fighters recover from worse. World title fight in your own backyard, you don't want to stop like that.
To be honest, I do agree with that, and I'll 100% guarantee so does Leigh Wood agrees with us. But this is boxing, and this is what grips us, and this is what keeps us tuning in and keeps us coming back.
Tony, wait a minute. You've got 100%. You've got 100% record on your rematches. Is it 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Cleverly, Oval McKenzie, David Haye.
David Haye, Oval McKenzie, Isaac Chilemba, Nathan Cleverly, David Haye.
Go on, my brother. Go on.
Easy now.
Go on. Maybe one day, maybe one day you and Usyk will battle out of Misfits. Maybe one day you get a chance to rerun that again, eh? Why not?
What once was more than enough with him, mate. And yeah, I'm always better second time round, but I don't think I can beat him, mate, in 20 times around.
Who knows? We'll see. Tune in for the next one.